Howdy friends, I'm Ken Lane, Communications Manager over at My Little Salesman. Today I'm very excited to pop the hood on our dealer management system to give you a closer look at the deals section of your My Little Salesman sales desk. But before we get to popping and diving beneath the hood, you may be wondering, what the heck is a deal? Well, a deal is the full documentation of a transaction at any stage of its journey, from quote to receipt, within your My Little Salesman sales desk. I like to think of deals as the story of the transaction, capturing the who, what, when, and where as it evolves in real time. And the deal section of your sales desk keeps every transaction at your fingertips at a moment's notice, whether you're at a desktop computer or out in the field on your mobile device. So who might want to use the deal section? Your deal section is designed to be used by your entire sales and customer service team. More than simply a record of your transactions or a status dashboard, your deal section was designed to be actively worked out of, like a sales workbench. It's essentially the intersection of your customer database, your inventory, and your transactions all converging in a deal. But enough talk, let's pop the hood and check it out. To access your deals section, navigate over to mylittlesalesman.com and make sure that you're logged in. Just below your name in the upper right hand corner, click or tap on My Account. A window will appear with a number of sections. You can locate Sales Desk and click or tap the word Deals. Welcome to the Deals section. On the table below, you'll see a full record of all of your established deals organized by customer, which can be changed at the top, and various key metrics at a glance, including the deal's status, salespeople involved, product information, and the like. If you haven't set up any deals yet, you can easily begin by navigating over to the red New button. When you click or tap on this button, you'll see a drop down that gives you the option to start a new deal, new invoice, or new quote. You can also create any of these selections directly from a contacts page or the back end of an inventory listing. So now, technically speaking, all of these options will create a new deal. If you select new invoice or new quote, it'll simply leapfrog your deal creation process to that particular stage of where you would normally begin in the process of creating a new deal. Speaking of which, let's see what this process looks like now. I'm going to find a dummy deal that I had with my boss, Jason. Jason bought a 1994 Peterbilt dump truck from me, but we have a few things to sort out. Once I find him on the deal screen, I'm going to click Edit alongside this corresponding deal so I can continue fleshing out this deal. On the page for a particular deal, or any deal, you'll find many tile-like buttons across the top. These also exist on the mobile version, though I believe just below the deal information panel due to the responsive design. These tile-like buttons are very purposely ordered, where if you access each from left to right, by the time you reach the end, you will have completely traversed every section relevant to this particular deal in a very logical order, leaving no stone unturned. I like to think about this process like moving from space to space on a board game. Let me explain what I mean. So let's start with the first panel. On the buyer info section, this is essentially the who aspect of the deal. This is where you provide all the necessary buyer information. You can do this by either selecting an existing name from your My Little Salesman contact management database, or by entering the information right here. Next up is the items section. The items section is the what aspect of this deal. What are they buying or interested in buying? Similar to the buyer info section, you can either select something from your existing inventory, which can be automatically pulled from your inventory management section of your My Little Salesman dealer management system, or you can enter the necessary information below that here. Now you can start to build sort of a ticket here. If the item in question is something that requires a lot of extra regulatory or tax data, like a semi-truck or something like that, we'd recommend that you make a single deal for such an item. Still, with that being said, if you were to, say, include the price of new tires on here, let's say this is a dump truck that needed 10 new tires at $250 each, you can easily add each of these items on the same deal by selecting Add Another Line Item. That won't be shown here because this item is technically sold, but we'll get to that. Let's move on to the structure section. The structure section is part how and part what in the story of the sale, allowing you to enter the additional details of the transaction and provide a better price out the door if need be. Some of these categories include the registration fees, title fees, licensing fees, and including information about the taxable status of certain aspects of the deal. You can also include information about the federal excise taxes and tire credit data, which refers to a credit available in some situations when taxes had already been paid on tires and the like. You'll notice that as we change the data here on the left, the system automatically crunches the numbers and updates the summary section right here. Let's head over to the next panel, which is the settings section. The settings sections of this deal will be a continuation of the who and the how sections of this deal journey. In this menu, we can update information such as the source of the deal, whether they found out about this piece of equipment from a social media post, a search engine ad, an email newsletter, or even if they walked in off the street. So in settings, you can also enter information such as the current and status of the deal, which you will update as the deal progresses. I would like to note that selecting sold will lock the deal, so that make sure it's actually sold before making that change. In this location section, let's say that you have a few different dealerships. Here you can select which of your locations corresponds to this particular deal. The settings section also houses an expenses section so that you can keep track of any sales representatives involved, their commission rates, finance and insurance representatives, and any overhead percentages to be taken out before commissions are calculated. You can also include referral rates here, either in percentages or fixed amounts. Let's keep on trucking over to the type of sale. Though currently a very basic section, the type of sale is very important. This is where you'd essentially select if this is going to be a cash purchase or if the buyer is planning on utilizing outside financing. If you select outside financing, a few fields will open up to allow you to enter the finance lender and brokers. This section will likely be expanded in the future, so if you want to provide your own financing, kind of a buy here, pay here model, the necessary functionality would exist to accommodate that. So next, let's move over to the shipping section. Here in the shipping section, you can select the shipping vendor for the items here and include all of the additional details, including departure date, estimated arrival date, and even a tracking number here. When the item finally arrives, you can include that data here as well for the sake of keeping accurate records. Scrolling down just a little bit, you can enter the shipping address. Here, shipping addresses are frequently different from the billing address, so you want to make sure that this reflects where your customer would like to receive the item. That's fairly straightforward. Let's move over to forms. So it may not seem like it, but this section alone may end up saving you several hours a week if you're needing to process a lot of paperwork in reference to your transactions. This functionality alone could be just about its own service, but I think I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll explain why that's the case in a bit. This section will contain all necessary PDF forms and documents relevant to this deal and your ongoing deals. This can include truck registration forms, buyer guides that discuss warranty expectations, and even forms that you're going to need to send off to the government. Basically anything that needs to be filled out regarding this deal and your company's other deals, you're going to want to keep here, and I'll explain why in a minute. So you'll notice right now that I have several forms in this table. If you were to open this section for the first time, you would likely have no forms. No worries. Once you've located the PDF versions of any relevant forms regarding your deals going forward, you can simply email them, not filled out, blank, with your relevant My Little Salesman account information over to support@mlsinc.com. You may be wondering why you need to submit them directly to us. Well, once we receive your forms, we will map each empty field against your My Little Salesman system. This essentially means that if you've entered any bit of information into your database before, such as the item you're selling, the contact who is buying it or wants a quote, your own company information, any of these details will automatically be added onto the forms as you open them from the Forms section. To give you a preview of what this looks like, I'm going to open up one of these forms on the deal that contains pre-mapped fields. Now this information is for demonstration purposes only, but if this were your pre-mapped form in your deal section, it would be automatically filled out with all of your relevant data. All of this data would be pulled from wherever it is kept in your My Little Salesman system. In other words, say so long to redundant data entry. However, let's say that you need to change something on this particular form, some detail than what is different than the information you have on file. So editing this PDF within this deal is as easy as clicking or tapping on the relevant caret arrow icon, selecting Edit, and then making the necessary change on the fly. Once you're finished, simply select Save Changes, and the form will retain the changes you made. What if you change your mind about these changes and want the form to go back to pulling what's on file for this particular deal? Well, that's as easy as selecting that arrow once again and clicking Delete Edited State. Well, let's say that you need to email some of these forms for someone to review and you don't feel like downloading the form, attaching it to an email, making sure you have the correct email address and the like. Well, you can email the form from the Form section. Simply choose the form you'd like to send using the checkbox to the left and then clicking the email button at the bottom. This will open a window that allows you to fill out all of the necessary information almost as though you were in your own email client, making sure the proper form is attached, selecting if you'd like the form to be read-only or not, and then tapping or clicking Send Email. Pretty cool, huh? So far, you may have noticed that all of the relevant fields for which there is data available are automatically filled out, besides signatures. For obvious reasons, you can't fill out signatures without the proper credentials. So what happens when you need to send off a form to receive a customer's signature on something like that? The process is remarkably similar to emailing them. First, make sure that you have a DocuSign account and that it is connected to My Little Salesman. This is an extremely simple process I covered in a previous video, which I'll link up here somewhere. After that, select the form that you'd like signed by clicking or tapping on the side box and selecting the DocuSign button at the bottom. A window will appear, much like the email feature, but with a few more options, including the option of personalizing the subject line, the addition of any co-signers, and a few other DocuSign features. From here, sending this electronic signature request is as easy as clicking Submit. And that about wraps up the Forms section. Your next panel will be Invoices, Quotes, and the Payments. In your Invoices, Quotes, and Payment section, you'll be able to generate and store automatically populated invoices on the fly. You'll see that we have this invoice for the deal right here in this table. The system will pull all the relevant data to auto-populate a quote or invoice. So once generated, using the down arrow caret icon, you're presented with an array of options, including the ability to edit it, print it out, convert it to a PDF, email it, request a DocuSign signature on it, lock it, toss it in an archive, or delete it altogether. Now, as we mentioned at the beginning of this, let's say that you're on the deal screen and just selected a new quote or new invoices from the drop-down options from the red plus button. Let's go back there real fast. Choosing that selection would technically generate a new deal, but also doing so would bring you to this stage in the deal generation process. This fast quote or invoice generation process may come in handy if, say, you have a walk-in customer who's just purchasing a part. You may not want to say, just give me a minute while you start from literally square one with generating a new deal. In that case, you may just want to get the customer a quick invoice and send them on their merry way. So generating a new invoice or new quote will create a new deal, even if some of the information is missing. In the same section, you'll find the option to record a payment. So at this point, the item has been sold, the invoice has been fulfilled, and the payment has been exchanged. So using the record a payment section, you have the ability to document everything about that payment, including the amount applied to the balance, payment dates, types, check reference numbers, notes, and to upload relevant documents, such as receipts. Let's head over to the next section, electronic signatures. Just a heads up, if your DocuSign account is not connected to your My Little Salesman account, you won't see an electronic signatures button here, or a DocuSign option anywhere else within deals at all, for that matter. If you don't even have a DocuSign account, you can reach out to us at support@mlsinc.com and we can help you out with a referral to get you started. Once you have a DocuSign account connected, this electronic signature section is somewhat of a continuation of the forms page. What do I mean by that? Well, consider this the tracking dashboard for all of your DocuSign activity submitted through My Little Salesman. Without opening DocuSign, you'll be able to see the status of every signature request that corresponds to this deal, and even retrieve signed forms via the Actions button with the down caret arrow, as it's sometimes called, and selecting Download Completed Document. It's all right there, right at your fingertips and associated with its corresponding deal. So we're coming down the home stretch. Let's check out the summary section. The summary section exists as a place where you can record additional costs incurred, as well as a place where you can check out your profit analysis. This will give you a quick idea of your profit and revenue from this deal. Essentially, the summary section gives you more data points to enter so you can get a better perspective of your business. Let's head over to the notes section. The notes section is pretty self-explanatory. This is a good place to jot down a quick note and know you can quickly access it associated with its corresponding deal. Now let's take a look at documents and files. This page has a very similar purpose to the notes section, but allows you to upload all your documents you have associated with a particular deal, including reports, titles, exemptions, or even text files of notes that you've taken elsewhere. Now let's check out the update history. Let's say that something seems off about this deal. Maybe it's not the way you left it, but you can't put your finger on what changed or who changed it. The update history is essentially a record of who touched what and when. This is especially helpful if you have several different sales representatives working on a particular deal and everyone needs to stay on the same page. Well, I think that'll just about do it for this in-depth look at the deals functionality built into your My Little Salesman dealer management system. Every aspect of this system was carefully designed to simplify the sales process for you, your team, and your customers. If you have any questions about the deal section or even a feature recommendation you'd like to see, feel free to connect with us at mylittlesalesman.com. Until next time, I'm Ken, and I hope you have a good one.